Okay, today I'm going to be looking at this little thing, this little CNC USB controller. And I only paid 18 bucks for it because I got it from Amazon Warehouse during Prime Day, or, well, actually Black Friday. It comes with a little pendant and stuff, but yeah, actually you can get this board on here for like alone for like 18 bucks. Uh, oh. All right. But yeah, it's, well, even here's one for like 15 bucks. So, although it didn't have that many reviews, but it's basically the same board. Apparently, a lot of people knock this one off. And if you actually look um, right here, that's the actual number. Let me see if I can get that on the shot. Um, that's the number, and that's how I found information because they send you a CD. As you can see here, they send you this CD, and it has like I guess a demo version of Mach 3 on it, and there's no way that's the full version. Um, and it's probably the because they used to have a free version that apparently was limited to a certain amount of G code, so that's probably what it is. But I haven't installed that yet. Um, but what I did is I came in here and I searched for um, that number, and here's this right here. I don't know if you can see Jim's Embedded Tronics or whatever it is. Um, let's see. Let's see. This is the number I searched for. This BSMCE04u, and that apparently is a generic name for the controller. But if you search that, you'll not only find, that guy's website, which was, WordPress right here. He's a WordPress guy. So, you'll find his, which actually had some really interesting information on it. And it actually leads you to some of this other information, like this uh, Druffle CNC. So, if you go to their website, this is what you see. You can download their manual, which, having done that, this is the manual that comes with the damn thing, or one of the manuals. And this sucks. It doesn't even pertain to the freaking board they're selling you. Um, but like here, no, this isn't it. Not there. Let's see. Yeah, this is this is something else I got off that Jim guy's site. Um, let's see. Damn it. But this is something else I got off that Jim guy's site. Um, so, I mean, his site was pretty good. Let me see if I can find it again. Damn it. Um, yeah, here it is. But yeah, I mean, he has, like I said, a lot of interesting links. Like, this, the install manual. That's what that was right over there. That came from some other manufacturer of these boards. So, and not this, but this. And, it mostly pertains to how to configure Mach 3 to work with this thing. So, since that thing does come with a free version of Mach 3, if you wanted to try it, that's fine. Um, but, let's let's see. No, actually, this is that manual that came with it. I'm sorry. Microsoft Word. Yeah, this is the manual that link led to that I just showed you right there. Um, but you know, if you go down, um, down here, you know, you'll see some other, links down here. He does have a short video, but that doesn't really tell you much. Um, but yeah, you can kind of get to this Druffle CNC too, you know, to this manual, and that's what this is. So this is much, much more informative, but it still doesn't pertain to the exact version I have, but it does pertain to their software, because that's what these people do, is they sell CNC software. For about 98 bucks if you actually buy the full version. So that's like cheaper than Mach 3 or whatever, which is about, or Mark 4, which is like double that for either. But this does pertain to this board, you know, as you can see. So, and it gives you some diagrams that aren't entirely accurate, but it does go into many of the details you're going to want, you know, for hooking this thing up. But still, it can still be confusing. So, what I did is I did, you know, kind of a little rig here. And I did download that Druffle CNC, because they actually give you a free version, you know, that can do like 5,000 G code entries or something like that. But yeah, it recognizes this thing immediately, and you can go in and like configure it. You know, you can start with this, and I have to set my speeds low because I got this thing wired like a Christmas tree. Um, you know, I set the ramp up speeds really low. These are the defaults here, but you can see what I set my motors at, you know, because again, I got this thing. I was just interested to see if this thing even worked. So, you know, but apparently it does. But yeah, I got this, you know, auxiliary axis for my like CNC machine in there, which is one of the things I intend to do with this thing, is power my Max NC mill that's been sitting around for like 25 years, since I've not had what I needed to actually run it or drive it. So, you know, because that takes two parallel ports. So, I mean, you know, finding a computer with two parallel ports is tough. But even if you did, well, it had really crude DOS software that's really just a bunch of, you know, exe files with no graphical interface or anything. So it was really pretty crappy. I mean, the guys make good machines. In fact, I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick. Yeah, but see, I got this Max. Don't that help? Well, got this Max NC lathe, you know, which is a 2-axis thing. And then I got this Max NC mill. Again, these have been sitting around. I mean, I paid a lot of money for these things before they went out of business. It's been sitting around since like 1999, you know, and it's gone through a fire and stuff. But I've actually never had these machines running. They do have a, you know, kind of a driver built into it, but it's like a unipolar driver with a bunch of just, you know, NPN power transistors on it. That's all it is. But, you know, you need, like I said, these two parallel ports for it to work, and, you know, it's just a mess. And, you know, it's a really well built machine, though. I mean, it's like I said, it's got really good, decent stepper motors for the time. You know, it's a nice quality machine. It's got a, you know, pretty good XY axis, and even the Z height's not bad. You know, you can see it's quite a Z height. So, you know, that's better than my K2 here. So, you know, which the controller in it blew out due to lightning, so I had to rig something up, you know, to get around it. But it does work again. But it's a nice machine, but it's still more of a, you know, for circuit boards and things like that, because it's only got like a few inch travel at most on the Z-axis, really. You know, especially when you build it up with platforms and stuff. I used to have a vacuum hold down on this, but I took that off so I could route things on it. But At any rate, that runs with Mach 2. So I got, you know, fully licensed Mach 2, which I can install on any computer I want. I don't know if it'll work with this, but if it did, that would be the best solution, because it will run, Mach 2 will work with USB control boards, but I don't know if it'll work with this one or not, so that remains to be seen. But that would be awesome if it did. So, but at any rate, you know, yeah, you can set this thing up and do a lot of things with it. But I'm kind of making this video just as much for myself as anybody else. I'll, you know, activate it, you know, and by the way, you know, this is the enable line, but you honestly don't need to hook up the enable line on these drivers. You know, I've seen people on the internet that don't bother with it, and that's why, because you disconnect it like I just did, and they're always enabled. But if you hook it up to 5 volts, well, guess what happens? You know, it turns it off. So, I wanted to try to up the voltage on this a little bit. Oh yeah, see, that quieted this way down. It's making that hissing noise. So I'm turning it up to like, well, actually the higher I get it, the more it starts making that again. I'll leave it at 18 volts. It's pretty quiet there. 660 milliamps, that's an improvement over what it was. But yeah, I mean, these things are, you know, running nice and smoothly. Now, I can't get this stupid pendant to work, but apparently that's something you'd have to set up a like Mach 3 or something like that, because this doesn't seem to have provision for that. And I can't find any reference to this thing either, so I'm not even sure how I'm going to hook it up into Mach 3. But, you know, depending on how this works, I don't know. We'll see. But, you know, this was interesting because, like I said, you know, before I wired up to anything, you know, I just plugged it into USB, and Windows recognized it and installed the right driver for it, you know, which is some unusual driver. It's not a typical HID driver or anything. But, yeah, it just, you know, installed it, and I installed that software, and, you know, it didn't take much. I just had to hit start, and it just immediately recognized the connection. So, but like I said, you can control it with arrows or the keyboard or whatever. So, you know, and you can control 2 axes at the same time. You know, again, I got the speeds turned down a lot on that. Auxiliary axis there. So, you know, it's a pretty cool little thing, but you can tell what I did with the wires, you know, basically took, and again, you don't have to worry about these stupid enable lines. That would have saved me a lot of extra effort, you know, if I didn't have to wire those stupid things up. Because this thing doesn't use it. There's not an enable line on this board. You can see what the, you know, if you look it up on the internet, you'll see what all the connections are there. I didn't need these at all because I'm not hooking a spindle or any I/O lines up. I'm mostly just concerned, can this control motors at all? So I don't even have like a 24 volt supply hooked to this. I just am straight up using the USB supply off this thing to drive these motors, because these are all just 5 volt lines. So, and since these drivers have opti-isolators built into them, that's why you've got to run 2 lines, you know, to each of these control signal lines, you know, your pulse and direction line and enable line. That's why there's 2, because you're basically powering an LED through an opti-isolator. So this doesn't need an opti-isolator to power that, so as a result it uses the USB power to power these signal lines. So apparently that's all it needs. And then beyond that, these are a couple NEMA 23s I got, and you can see what the, you know, wiring codes are. At least that's one configuration that works. But, you know, beyond that, you know, I just have my, here's what I hooked to my power supply. I just have these daisy chained together going to your supply, which I'm running at 18 volts right now. But then I just tied all these grounds together, you know, with some bus wire, and just kind of daisy chained them together. again, this was wired like a Christmas tree, but it's good for testing, just to see if this shit works. So, and again, here's my enable line, which I didn't need to mess with. Then, I run, like XP and XD, which is X pulse, X direction, for example, the pulse and direction lines respectively, on each of these for X, Y, and Z. So it's really as simple as that. Now, they, in these manuals, they show it being wired differently than I have it, because I actually have the negative tied to ground, and that's common. They show the positive being tied to 5 volts, which is just weird to me. So, I mean, everything should be grounded. So, it doesn't really matter what way you do it. The point is, you can do it both ways, but you might have to invert the axis if you, what you got like this, let's see, this invert button here, that will change the polarity from default low to default high, but I didn't need to do that. So, but yeah, it's like I said, this is a decent little test program, if nothing else. And again, you get Linux CNC, which actually looks like one of the most robust programs. I still haven't really, to the best of my knowledge, found any equivalent open source PC software for this kind of thing yet that's decent. But, you can always set up a Linux box, but, Linux still more of an IT person's operating system in many ways. It's, I mean, how do you transfer files to it without having to thumb drive it? It's tricky to communicate with. I've done it before, but it's still, it's been so long since I've used Linux, I've forgotten how most of it works. I mean, I used to work at a job where I used Unix, for 4 years. I did, CAD on Unix systems, but that was a long time ago, back in like 1990. But at any rate, yeah. So this is a neat little deal, but it's simple to wire. So it's just I have the ground going to these commons, and then pulse direction, pulse direction, pulse direction. Teach every one of those, and just get your motors wired right. Which these are bizarre motors too. They're like they have like 4 separate coils. So you can wire them in series or parallel. And use them in, of course, unipolar form like that K2 does, because that's how that would use this, or that Max and C. Or you can, do it bipolar, but you can do it bipolar series or bipolar parallel depending on the voltage you want to use. So, but anyway, interesting little motors. But anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. And like I said, for 15 or 18 bucks, you can just buy one of these with board. I'm not sure if that pendant's gonna be worth a shit or not. So, but at any rate, yeah, I mean, it seems to do the job. And it's a very common board. So there are a lot of different versions of it on Amazon that I came across. So,